known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers best bet or daily package for only $2.
Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today. I am Lawrence Presman, and you guys are watching the best daily sports betting show on the frickin' planet. Threw in the word frickin' today, changed the slogan slightly. What a great show we have today. Teddy is still not here, my regular co-host, so I'm thrilled about that. Steve Merle will be sitting in for him. What do we got going today? We've got Rob Veno joining us. Rob is the $2 Tuesday handicapper. We'll get to that a little later. He's going to take apart the Youngstown State Robert Morris game and also an NBA future bet. And Andrew McInnis is going to talk Red Wings and Capitals. He has a shot prop. Steve Merrill's got a big game breakdown as well for you guys. And, of course, the daily presidential address at the end of the show, in which yesterday I predicted the Boston Bruins Ottawa exact score, so stay tuned for that. Steve Merrill, how are you, man? Thanks for sitting in.
Yeah, great to be here on $2 Tuesday, and we're going to talk a little college hoops, obviously, because that's the focus this week with the NBA All-Star break.
Yep.
But, Prez, one thing that's cool about the All-Star break, not only do the players get a week off, but they put a lot of the reset lines, adjusted futures, adjusted season win totals, even at some books. We're leading off with Rob Veno, so I thought it'd be a good time to do a little mid-season NBA recap here. I know you've been red hot this year in the NBA, and Rob Veno's about as good as they get as well. And I'm actually the number one ranked capper in 2023 so far at WagerTalk.com, the NBA. So maybe a good time to look at some NBA mid-season angles.
Excellent stuff. We're going to go into that as well. Normally, we bring on our first guest, but today we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to discuss cricket. So, Steve, yesterday we were talking about cricket. I'm obsessed with the sport. Nobody wanted to hear about it. So are you part of the gang? No, you don't want to talk cricket, right? Like,
No, I tell you what. Yes, I do. I don't care about talking about cricket, but as you know, I'm an inquisitive one. And cricket is like the second biggest sport in the world after soccer.
Yeah.
So
I
it does
do want to
intrigue me in that
apologize.
regard.
I made a mistake. Yesterday I said cricket was the most watched sport. Somebody Googled it and said it was soccer. I don't know for sure if that is true, but cricket is right up there as one of the top sports on the planet. You know, there's 3 different versions of cricket.
Yes. No, I did not. And I don't understand any of the 3 versions. So that's where I'd actually find it interesting.
Estevan, I'm kidding, man. We're not spending the show talking cricket, okay? It was a joke. I know you people don't like to talk cricket, but it is an incredible freaking sport, Steve. Let's get straight into the show. What did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
Yeah, we learned the NBA's off for a few more days, but I want to talk mid-season futures. When the season began, the odds, of course, out for season win totals. Obviously, futures to win the NBA championship, and I don't think too much has changed right now. I mean, load management's become more of a problem than ever in the NBA since the COVID shutdown. Teams, Popovich started it 10 years ago, right? Sitting some of the Spurs players, and everybody else followed suit. So I don't read too much into what we've seen the first few months of the season. But here at the All-Star break, at least using some of the, consensus odds out there, if you looked at the NBA championship when the season began back in, let's say mid-October, Golden State 6-1, Milwaukee 7-1, Boston 7-1. Now the Celtics are 3-1. Golden State's 12-1, Milwaukee around 5-1, but the Phoenix Suns now 4-1, and that's interesting because Phoenix was 9-1 a month ago, and when the season began, they were 14-1. So obviously, picking up Durant if he gets healthy was a big move there. And, of course, the other team that made the big move was the Dallas Mavericks. They were 22-1 when the season began. Now they're 16-1. So not a huge difference there. Mavericks, by the way, along with the Lakers and the Rockets, have been 3 of the worst point spread teams in the league for the last 2 years combined. So I think Dallas is going to be a very interesting team to keep an eye on, obviously, now that they picked up Kyrie Irving. And I saw one stat about a week ago, and I think it was isolated one-on-ones, points per possessions. Kyrie Irving is heads and above anybody else in the league this year. So he is a really good player, and that's why the Mavericks were willing to kind of make a deal with the devil, if you will, and get him in the short term when they know there's going to be problems at some point in the long term. And also, adjusted season win totals, these aren't quite as prominent at all the books, but some of them have those as well. They're fun to look at. Obviously, a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder, the best point spread team in the league for the last 2 years combined now. Ralph Michaels and I talked about it a few weeks ago, so will the Thunder continue to cover spreads, things like that. I think it's good to take this NBA break, this 1 week break, and kind of assess your handicapping strategy for the next few months, some play on and play against teams. And Prez, I'll throw it back to you. We'll bring Rob Veno in as well, NBA expert Rob Veno, to get your thoughts. But anything catch your eye halfway through the NBA season, as we have about 3 months to go until the playoffs still?
Well, I mean, listen, I'm fascinated about the race in the West. But really, Steve, what bothers me the most about the NBA, and it affects betting, is the load management, is the lack of respect the NBA shows sports bettors. And,
right.
The NFL was built on the back of sports bettors, and the NBA might want to learn a little thing or two. It's insulting and pathetic that teams can just pull players out with very little notice, and it affects the rhythm of sports betting. I know it's not their priority, and I understand that their fans are all like 4 years old, but it is driving me bonkers. And Rob Veno too. I mean, Rob, you get your plays in late every day, and I'm guessing that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, that's the reason, Prez. I mean, we do an NBA show here at Wager Talk, the NBA tip-off show, which doesn't air until 4:15 Eastern time, 1:15 Pacific each and every day. And when we go on the air, we still have no clue who's playing and who's not. And it makes life extremely difficult. There's a lot of guesswork into it. It's never been this bad. I agree with everything you said, Prez. I mean, the ability of NBA teams to just 10 minutes before tip-off decide somebody has a non-COVID illness, boom, case closed, he's not playing, or whatever the reason may be. It's just very, very difficult. It's hard to get things in overnight as a bettor. You do on back-to-backs try to guess, hey, who's this team going to sit tomorrow night, because they're on back-to-backs. It's almost customary now to sit people. But then again, you have the other side of that, which we've seen recently, where the guess was Golden State would sit their starters, which they've done all season long, and then all of a sudden Steve Kerr decides to play his starters in back-to-back. So, I mean, it's just so much guesswork. It makes life hard. I agree with both of you guys. That's probably the biggest problem with handicapping the league right now.
Look, I'm no lawyer,
hey, Rob.
Although my mother wanted me to be a lawyer. I would be damn curious to see a class action suit. Like, we talked about how disrespectful it is to sports bettors, how disrespectful it is to fans as well.
Right.
I mean, I'll tell you flat out, if I was, your average person making your average salary, and I had to save up a month to take my child to go see Giannis, and 10 minutes beforehand, Giannis decides not to play, that's just not cool. I mean, if I buy a ticket to a movie, what?
It's a problem, Prez, but all you got to do is say he twisted his ankle in the locker room, right? That you would never be able to say the guy's not hurt, and that's all they have to do is,
You could definitely prove he didn't twist his ankle. So I don't know. It would be interesting. What an arrogant sport, and a sport I hate, like flat out. I mean, I love betting it, and I'm kicking ass in the NBA, but man, I can't. Well, I call basketball glorified Red Rover. Your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. Break, timeout, advance the ball for no apparent reason. Your turn, my turn, your turn, my. I mean, it's just, whoa. Anyway, Robert, it's $2 Tuesdays. You are the $2 Tuesday handicapper over at Wager Talk. College basketball has been really good to you this season. Tell us what's going on, what play you have, and then we're going to get straight into some sports betting actionable info. Your turn, my turn.
Yeah, today's $2 play, Prez. It is up and available right now. Selection with analysis over at WagerTalk.com. The college basketball season, as you mentioned, has been really good to me. Sitting here at 55 and 31, 64% over an 86 game span. I'm happy with that. We've picked up I think the same number in units of profit. I think that was 64 as well. So college hoop been really, really good. We're just about to turn the corner into conference tournament season here and then into postseason tournament time. And before you know it, it'll be over. So once again, for $2 Tuesday, you can get that play right now at WagerTalk.com.
Rob Veno joining us. Nicely done. Guys, I want to start the show with a quote from Estevan. Okay, I'm here now. I love the older guys. I'm 38 myself, just so much more knowledge. Really, the takeaway there, Steve, is the older guys. I mean, I didn't ever think that a 38-year-old would call me old, but I guess that's where we're at in this day and age, right? I'm just an old freaking man.
If you love the panel today, wait till Teddy returns tomorrow.
Well, you're not Teddy's age?
Rob's older than all. Rob Veno is one of the youngest looking, older than you would think, guys, at Wager Talk, Rob. And the basketball game made it even more misleading because you held your own in the pickup game on August 19th, part 2. Yeah. Wager Talk meet and greet and Prez's wedding. It'll be the best weekend in the history of Las Vegas.
Yeah, Prez is not getting married in Las Vegas if he wants to have a happy marriage. Youngstown State at Robert Morris. Rob Veno did not follow the rules. He did not put the lines in here. So I'm not going to tell you them because I'm not doing your work, Rob.
No soup for you.
What?
No soup for you.
Yeah.
Back of the line.
What do you got, Rob? Who's winning this game? How do we bet it?
Yeah, you know how I hate to disappoint everybody at Wager Talk, so that's totally on me for not putting the numbers in there. I'll give them to you. Of course, and again, we know how much I hate to disappoint, but I'll try to not disappoint with the play here. We're going to play this one over 144, guys, and it's based sheerly off of what's now almost an entire conference season worth of results here. Youngstown State inside the Horizon League has played 18 games. 15 of those 18 have gone over this number this season. They've played 8 conference road games. All 8 have produced more than 144 points. So right off the bat there, mechanically, you almost have a play. The earlier contest, though, I mean, if you had a concern, the earlier contest between these two back on January 5 was one of those 3 unders. In that particular game, it got to 134, despite the fact that Robert Morris had their worst shooting day from three-point range of the conference season, only 1 of 10% for RMU in that one. They only scored 56 on the road that night. However, there's a pretty big discrepancy between what Robert Morris does on the road and what they do at home as far as offense is concerned. At home, they average 69 points per game. I'd expect them to be more in that vicinity here tonight. Probably the biggest fundamental matchup in this game where there's an edge, guys, would be Youngstown's three-point shooting, which sits at number 26 in the country against Robert Morris's three-point defense, which is 306th. You got a bunch of sharpshooters against a bunch of guys who don't defend the three at all. Even if Youngstown State is not on their game from three-point land, they've shot below 30% from 3 5 times on the road in conference this year. And even still, all 5 of those games went over 150 points. So they don't necessarily even have to shoot good from 3 to get over this number. I think at this point in time, when you look at this price range and a Youngstown State game, you have to play over. It worked again this past Saturday afternoon, but Youngstown State conference games with totals between 138.5 and 148, 7-1 to the over. I'm going to try it again, guys. We'll just keep riding what's been a hot train. Youngstown State, Robert Morris, over 144.
And Rob, of course, that game is taking place at the UPMC Event Center in Moon Township, Pennsylvania. So 2-part question. How far is Moonship Township from you, Rob Veno? Will you be in attendance? And then second of all, from a side perspective, look at that first meeting. You mentioned the blowout for Youngstown, right? They win by 22. But one thing that jumps out to me is they did shoot 9 for 20 from 3. Robert Morris 1 for 10. But if you look at the 2-point baskets, Robert Morris outscored them 24-17 in 2-point range. So I think that's good for the over. Obviously, easy baskets down low. But any thoughts on a home dog revenge situation as far as the side?
Well, it's what Robert Morris offensively has been best at so far this season, 2-point shots. They're not a particularly good 3-point shooting team, but where their best is at closer to the rim, 2-point shots. So if that holds up again tonight, Steve, and we do get a little bit of an improvement over 10% 3-point shooting, you would expect more points out of Robert Morris in this one, which would help our over. Youngstown, as I mentioned, there's so many possessions in their games, it doesn't even really matter, as proven by the 5 conference road games where they didn't shoot well from beyond the arc and still got to 150 or better. And that's not with overtime, guys. That's regulation. Moon Township, real quick, Steve, is closer to Pittsburgh, which would be about 5 hours from me, closer to Philadelphia here. So it'll be a long ride for me to go ahead and attend a Robert Morris game.
Rob Veno joining us, everyone. It's $2 Tuesdays. Our one of our hottest handicappers, and Rob Veno is freaking hot. $2 for their play. Every Tuesday we do this promotion. It goes really, really well. If you guys have never purchased from WagerTalk.com, please take 2 minutes. It's $2. It's less than a really crappy coffee from Dunkin' Donuts, which thank God we don't have in this country.
There goes the sponsor.
This segment sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts. Rob, Washington Wizards adjusted season win total. It is 39.5. Are we going over or under?
Well, we're going to see if the Wizards can get to 40 here, Prez. That's the way I played it. It would require a 12-12 finish down the stretch. Got 24 games left. Need to win 12 of them. If you go through their schedule real quick, you're going to find that they have a very, very home-friendly schedule. 15 of their remaining 24 are played at home. I broke down their schedule according to, will they be favorite? Will they be dog? What games are toss-up? What you come out with, at least when I did, is you do come out with a 12-12 final record, just based on that. Who should win, who shouldn't. And the toss-ups, I even gave the advantage to the opponents, 1 and 2 in toss-ups, which could easily be switched. There's games like at Orlando, which I think I gave to the Magic, that the Wizards could win. So I don't think 12-12 is out of the realm of possibility here. And the Wizards, when you look to play these things, you're looking for hot teams or teams that you feel like really want into the playoffs. Wizards 10-4 against the spread in their last 14 games. You have to like the way they're playing. 4-1 heading into the break. ATS 5-2 straight up, not covering numbers, but 5-2 their last 7 as an underdog, which shows the feistiness that they've had so far. I'm going to pray for no injury because, again, I'm talking about a team with Kristaps Porzingis and Bradley Beal as the 2 featured guys, and Kyle Kuzma as the most underrated 3rd guy in the league right now. You hope for no injury. You hope for no load management. I would take the next 5 minutes to go off on Greg Popovich for inventing this, but so be it. But we hope that Washington plays their guys. They look like they want it. All the quotes coming out of Washington seem to look like out of the break, they want to continue their winning ways. So to me, that looks like a pretty good selection, guys. Washington adjusted season win total over 39.5.
Steven?
Yeah, Robin, they opened 35.5 for the season. So it is a couple 4 games higher than what the regular season total was at the beginning. But as you said, they're 28-30 now. They got to play 500 basketball to get there. And one thing I do like about doing a mid-level team like this is, unlike what we talked about at the beginning of this show, we don't have to worry about load management, right? Because this team can't afford to sit anybody. They're fighting for the playoffs each and every night. So I like where you're going with that one. Look, big picture, I want to get back to the NBA midseason odds and whatnot. Let's talk play-on-play against teams while we still have you. The last 2 seasons, as I said, Oklahoma City Thunder now 83-51 against the spread. They were the second best team last year after Memphis. They're the best team this year. By the way, Memphis 85-63 now the last 2 years, so they're still the second best team. Dallas is the worst point spread team this season, but they were top 5 last year. Lakers 3rd worst, Blazers 2nd worst, and Rockets 58-78 the last 2 years. I'm talking about the last 2 years combined. Lakers, Blazers, and Rockets, the 3 worst point spread teams. Thunder, Grizzly, and Celtics, 90-72, the 3rd best point spread team. Don't have to necessarily use any of those, but any play-on-play against teams or in those top 3, bottom 3s, any that maybe you see some value. I mean, obviously Dallas worse so far this year. Maybe they'll still be overvalued though with the new players. Who are some teams other than the Wizards that you're looking for maybe in the second half here to play on or play against?
Well, lucky for me, I went through this exercise for Teddy Covers, Sirius XM show on Friday. So I do have particulars for you here, Steve. Out of the East, bet against teams in my mind are Atlanta and Chicago, basically for the same reason. The team chemistry in both locker rooms isn't great. We've heard about Atlanta's chemistry for 3 years now. They still keep the same people in that locker room. Chicago, the rift between, or so-called rift between DeRozan and Levine, as they tried to get rid of Zach Levine. For Chicago, they entered the break 0-6 in their 6 games against the spread. So they're not exactly a hot team. I don't think they want any part of, it could be a team, tell you the truth, Steve, where they sit right now, they may want ping pong balls rather than victories, the Chicago Bulls. Although Patrick Beverley did sign there today. I don't know how much weight you want to put into that. The Hawks have the third toughest remaining schedule in the Eastern Conference, and I don't see much defense out of them. On the other side, I think if you're looking for bet-ons, I do like the Lakers. I think the Lakers will make a push here. And the Lakers obviously got a little bit younger. Actually, they got a lot younger and probably more productive from the perimeter with their acquisitions. I think that even though they'll be overpriced, you probably want to be on the Clippers. The Clippers look like a team motivated to find their way into the Western Conference Finals. Bet against teams. I think the Sacramento Kings, the Kings probably wear a bullseye on their chest the last 24 games. I mean, they're sitting there in the 3 spot, I think, in the West. Teams now have to take them serious. Teams probably didn't take them serious earlier in the season. They've got the fourth toughest schedule remaining out of all Western Conference teams. So I don't like the Kings. And of course, I think you have to bet against the Spurs. I mean, the Spurs are just a team that goes out and gets their brains beat in every night. And despite the little diatribe that Popovich went on before the break about playing defense, it doesn't help when your 8-man rotation is basically different every single night. That doesn't help defensive communication. So there's some bet-ons and bet against from the East and the West.
Steve?
Yeah, the one thing I thought, Rob, that I kind of thought would be a lot worse out of the gate was Utah. They're just 29-31. It does look like maybe they're coming back down to earth now, but they had so much young talent. And obviously, look at the All-Star game this past weekend. A lot of guys that you weren't expected to see there a few months ago that were in the mix in the different competitions. And I know it was in Salt Lake City, obviously, but still a lot of young talent on that Utah team. And real quick, one thing to keep in mind, too, with these bottom feeders, you're talking about ping pong balls with the Bulls, made me think about this. LeBron maybe just set the all-time scoring record, but this is one of the most coveted first-round draft picks in recent decades. And right now, I could give you 8-1 that a college basketball player will be selected first. How do you like those odds? Do you think that's ever been the case? 8-1 that the number one draft pick will be a college player? Because right now, sportsbooks have 2 guys listed. Your boy Victor Wembanyama, who's like a 7'2" guy from France. If people aren't familiar with him, a 19-year-old, is 1-25. That's like a 95% chance he'll be the first pick. And then Scoot Henderson, who went straight to the G League a year ago, is 10-1, 20-1 now in some spots. And there's nobody else listed. So very coveted number one pick, maybe the most coveted since LeBron 20 years ago. So, Rob, is that something you might factor in? I mean, once again, the ping pong balls are random, right? Even if you tank, you've only got, I think, about a 25% chance at best to get the number one pick. But is that something you might be cautious with in April with teams tanking more than in the years past?
Yeah, I think the ones that have the chance to get the most ping pong balls, Steve, but a team like the Lakers, even if they find their way into the lottery, what are they going to get? I mean, their percentage chance of winning is going to be so, unless it's, and again, conspiracy theories have come into the draft lottery before. We saw teams like San Antonio get them back to back, I think it was. So it could happen. But I think LeBron's playing for victories now. I wouldn't worry about them. But the Bulls, I do think, might just scrap their season. It's just not a good situation there.
Rob Veno, everybody. Rob, outstanding work. Thanks for joining us, guys. Everybody, Rob Veno is the $2 Tuesday handicapper at WagerTalk. He's got a premium best bet going. It's only $2. Take advantage of that. And we do have every Tuesday a 3 for $5 promotion over at Sports Memo. Rob Vincelletti, JM Sports, and Pavlos. All 3 of those guys, only $5. Rob, again, you rock. Thank you. Good luck tonight. And we'll speak to you next week. Steve, before we bring on our next guest, Andrew McInnis, and this will be sort of a setup to. Well, before I get into that, I just want to say I saw Quantum Mania last night with all the kids. Ant-Man 3, whatever you want to call it. It's the biggest piece of shit movie I've ever seen in my life. I don't have a clue what the hell Marvel is thinking. It is beyond insanity. This multiverse stuff is complete nonsense. This whatever it's called, the quantum realm. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Why didn't Marvel build Phase 5 around Daredevil, put it in Hell's Kitchen, make it with a darker, grittier show? Instead, they've gone completely off the rails. Okay, that's taken care of. Steve, one of our listeners, and I can't find it. Oh, yeah, 209 Valley, and we'll bring Andrew in to discuss this right off the bat. Wait, do we have? Oh, it's all messed up because we don't have 3 guests. We're going to do your big game breakdown right now. Then I will discuss what 209 Valley wrote. Are you ready?
Whenever. You want a commercial break? A little 30-second break?
Commercial break.
Let's no commercial. Go. I mean, you've pissed off all the sponsors already tonight anyway, so that's not a surprise.
We're the sponsor, so we're good. Dan, Steve's big game breakdown, please.
It is time for a little big game breakdown for Tuesday night, February the 21st. College basketball front and center all week long with the NBA All-Star break, and it's a great time to be making money in college hoops. Second revenge meetings, conference play in full throttle, just a few weeks away from the Madness of March. And we're going to look at a good home revenge spot here from one of the better teams in the country. And it goes at 7 Eastern tonight on ESPNU, and that's Virginia Tech, the Hokies, -2.5. against number 13 ranked Miami of Florida. Now, first of all, you all know I love to fade the public in the NFL. We don't use it much during the regular season in college basketball. Use it more so in the March Madness tournament, the NCAA tournament in a few weeks. I will have fade the public info here on WagerTalk TV. That's yet another reason to hit subscribe and hit that bell for instant alerts. And don't forget, I do college basketball top 25 videos each week as well this time of year. But one angle that Brian Powers talked a lot about, Joe Ranieri and I have discussed it as well. It's hit over 70% this year. And it is a little bit of a fade the public angle, and that's playing unranked home favorites in college basketball against ranked opponents. In fact, Virginia Tech was in this role a few Saturdays ago, and they won and covered against arch rival UVA, Virginia Cavaliers. And now it's the same situation. Unranked Virginia Tech against number 13 Miami of Florida, yet Tech is laying the 2.5 points. So let's dig deeper and see if this is a good spot tonight. And I think it is. Virginia Tech is much better than their 16-11 straight-up record. They've had a tough schedule this year. They've beaten some good teams, as I mentioned. Virginia a few weeks ago, 74-68 back on February 4th. Since then, they have alternated wins and losses. They've gone just 2-2 straight up their last 4. Come off a home win against Pittsburgh, so they stay home now after Saturday. Meanwhile, Miami has to travel after beating Wake. They also had a big win at North Carolina before that, and they have Florida State at home on deck. So it could be a little bit of a flat spot here for the Hurricanes, a team that I've used several times. In fact, I had a best bet on them a few Mondays ago for my clients over at Duke. But I think this is a good spot to fade Miami, and it's more of a great spot to play Virginia Tech. 12-3 straight up at home. We always like to play on quality, strong home courts with revenge. And they did lose at Miami less than a month ago, the last day of January last month, 92-83. It was a tight game at the half, 45-44, obviously a high-scoring game with almost 90 points at halftime. Both teams shot lights out. Virginia Tech shot 57%. Miami shot 58%. They both hit over 41% from three-point range. They both hit over 80% from the free throw line. I don't think much changes here, but I do think Virginia Tech's defense will be a little bit better at home. I like the spot, and this is an angle, once again, that's hit over 70% this season, and that's simply playing unranked home favorites against ranked opponents. It's a little bit of a fade the public college basketball style. So let's take a look at Virginia Tech minus the 2.5 at 7 Eastern tonight on ESPNU. And don't forget, number 1 in the NBA, number 2 combined college and pro basketball side so far in 2023. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. And also don't forget, free plays have been fantastic. I post one every day, 16-3 since the end of January. My free plays on my page, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Steve, Marco texted me. I'm going to read his text. Damn, we forgot to mention on today's show about all those winners I keep giving out on Wager Talk Today. Marco went 2-0 yesterday in his free picks on the show and is currently on a 27-13 run. Yesterday, he also pointed out that he was tied with me since Thanksgiving in basketball combined. He's now ahead of me since Thanksgiving in basketball combined, but he ain't ahead of me on the year. Andrew McInnis joining us. And Andrew, we're going to start right off the bat with a question from 209 Valley. It's not a question, it's a statement, and I like it. He took the Leafs and Buffalo over the total of 6.5. He thinks it's going to go to 7, which it might. And what I want to say to 209 is be very careful on that play. It seems like an over. Buffalo is an over team, and the Leafs score at will whenever they want. However, I don't think it's going to go over. And what you have to take into account, and handicapping there's a ton of variables in handicapping. For instance, whenever the Leafs have a bad game, they come back with a monster, especially when they play a really bad team like Chicago. If you go back just through their last few games, the Leafs allowed Ottawa to put up 6 goals on them. The next game, they beat Washington 5-1. The Leafs allowed Columbus to put up 4 goals on them. The next game, Chicago put up 2. I would not be surprised if Buffalo is held to a low score tonight. So I'm not playing the under, but I don't like the over. And if it does get to 7, I personally would bet the under. Do you have any thoughts on that game?
Prez, I mean this with all due respect. You kind of asked me a question there and then answered it yourself. So, I mean, I agree with you.
I gave my answer. You're more than capable of giving your own answer. I'm asking you if you like the over or under on Toronto at 6.5. My reasons are irrelevant to your thoughts.
I know. I'm just messing with you. I agree with you. I think that the Maple Leafs are an easy team to read as far as, like you said, they played Montreal, they played Chicago in back-to-back games. Chances are they were going to lose one of those games. And what were they? Minus 301 and minus 400 in the other. And chances are, after they lose one of those games, they usually bounce back. And the biggest difference for this Maple Leafs team this year from what they were in the past is, I understand you say they score at will against these bottom feeders, but really, right now, these responsive games have been almost playing defense at will, if that even makes any sense. Their bounce back games haven't been as much 7-3 anymore as they've been 3-1. So I think that I would agree. This seems to be a play that Steve Merrill would fade on his segment on YouTube. I mean, if he was handicapping hockey, I think, Steve, you'd look the other way. Because everybody loves the over in this game. And I think it might go the other way. I wanted to give my 2 cents, if I can, on the load management stuff, because Steve, I get what you're saying about they could kind of fake the twisted angle and stuff like that. My biggest issue with the load management personally is when they're out for one game and then back the next game, when it just so happens to mean a lot more than the others. I would rather somebody like Andy Lang, who I've argued about this with before, just say, you know what? He doesn't have to play. Just say it. Just say they don't have to play. They're playing the Orlando Magic. LeBron doesn't want to play, but don't tell me on the score sheet that this guy is injured today against the Magic, but tomorrow against the Bucks, he's fine. That's really what bugs me. The only load management I agree with is if you've been getting too busy in the bedroom and you need a night off. That's the only load management I worry about.
Oh, just wait till you're in your 50s. It won't be called load. We won't look at it as load management. We'll look at it the other way around. It's like when you're finally not too tired. Anyway.
I figured you'd like that one, Prez.
Oh, Andrew, you're on fire, baby. Okay, Washington Capitals minus 156 against Detroit. I think Washington's a fade team moving forward. Detroit is playing outstanding hockey right now. I mean, they just came off a West Coast trip from the gods. Over a 6. Washington's minus 156. No chance in hell I'm betting the Capitals here. Where are you going in this game? The Capitals.
Please tell me you did not do that on purpose. I can't contain. Okay, so here's the thing. I agree that the Washington Capitals are a fade overall in the long-term picture. No doubt about that. But to me, I think this is still a situation where, number one, the number has certainly changed. Money is coming in on this Capitals team. This was not minus 160. It actually wasn't even minus 155, 150 at the open. Money's definitely coming in on the Capitals. But here's the thing. Just like Prez mentioned, it was an unbelievable West Coast road trip for the Detroit Red Wings. Even in games they're losing right now, they seem to be hitting their team total and playing very well. And the Washington Capitals haven't been a great team without Alexander Ovechkin. But here's the way I look at it, guys. Even though the price has skyrocketed up, you can still get plus 100 or around even money there on the regulation price. This seems to me a buy low spot on the Washington Capitals. Everyone's talking about the Detroit Red Wings, what they're capable of doing. If you're a what have you done for me lately type of handicapper, you love the Red Wings in this spot. But, like Prez mentioned, coming off that road trip, in the West Coast, now they're playing the Capitals at home. I think that this is a spot for the Washington Capitals to show some pride, regroup, and defeat a team that you should be able to defeat. When your star player is out, I get it. You really struggle, especially when it's a guy named Alexander Ovechkin. But right now, they have shown far too many struggles against teams that they probably shouldn't struggle against, like the San Jose Sharks. But they've also lost to teams like Carolina and Florida. And Prez, you know how good both those teams can be. So I think it's a buy low spot. I agree with your sentiment that this is a long-term fade team. But tonight, I'm looking to back the Capitals.
My former Washington Capitals against Johnny Detroit's Detroit Red Wings. So it's an interesting matchup in DC. And I guess I jumped off the ship at the right time because I knew the Caps were struggling this year. What jumps out to me, Andrew, is obviously since the All-Star break, two teams heading in total opposite directions. They both have been dogs in most of their games, and Detroit still won them. Caps have been dog except that San Jose game, but they have been a dog their last three that they've lost. And you hit on something here. I mean, look, I looked it up here. If I was doing a fade the public NHL style, this one would have been a public dog tonight. And, I love to fade those public dogs, whether it be college hoops, NBA, NFL. So I do think this is a little bit of a hold your nose, pull the trigger here. But, I mean, in general, what is something you're looking for that you'll have to see out of the Capitals other than this spot for them to become a play-on team for you at any time in the near future?
And Steve, it's actually very rare to see this much of a popular underdog in the NHL, especially a team like Detroit. So that is something worth mentioning, like you mentioned there with that. But what would I like to see? I would like to see someone that's not in the top line score a goal. That's what I like to see. I mean, the NHL is so much different than sports like, in the NBA, where you can have two or three guys that just drop 30, 40 points and they carry the bulk of the scoring. But in the NHL, in order to have success, you really need to have that scoring throughout the lineup. There's four lines playing. Maybe some lines aren't out there as much as the other ones are, Steve, but realistically, if you look at every single Stanley Cup champion over the past few years, Tampa Bay and Colorado, they've had all-stars, but they've also had guys in the third and fourth line that can contribute. So if I was to see a buy sign from the Capitals, it would be their depth really starting to show up. But I'm not saying that they're a bet-on team for me moving forward, Steve. They just start tonight.
Andrew McInnis joining us, everyone. And Andrew, we still have a little bit more time left. Let's move our attention to the wild card spot. The Eastern Conference is just so juicy. We got the New York Islanders at 65. The Florida Panthers are finally getting it going. They are at 64 points, but both of them have already played 60 games. Pittsburgh is 4 games back in total games played, and they're only 1 point out of the playoff position. Washington is at 62 points, Buffalo at 60, Detroit at 60. There are 6 teams duking it out for the final 2 spots. Who should we bet on? Who should we bet against? And which 2 are going to make the playoffs?
It is so funny, Prez, because you look at the top 6 right now in the NHL as far as the Eastern Conference concerned, and those teams are miles ahead of where the rest of the league really currently sits as far as the Eastern Conference, at least. I mean, you've got Pittsburgh, Washington, 2 teams that I think that are going in different directions than they certainly have been over the last few years. Pretty much since I was growing up, it was all Ovechkin and Crosby. But look, I honestly don't believe in the Florida Panthers. I don't believe in their defense. They have not changed their ways. Realistically, it'd be something crazy to see for a President's Cup winning team, a President's Trophy winning team to end up not making the playoffs. But to me, if you have to score 4 or 5 goals to win a game consistently, I still don't believe in you long term. Here's the thing. the Pittsburgh Penguins have been playing brutal hockey, like some horrible hockey, and look where they stand in the standings. To me, that's the problem, is that I understand many people have them as a fade team right now, and I get it, but they have several games in hand, and you know what I mean? They're still sitting in that spot that they're in right now. So who would I actually watch out for? It would actually be the Buffalo Sabres, believe it or not. I think they actually can make a push. I think they actually have some good goaltending. The biggest thing I worry about, again, like I talked about with Steve there with the Capitals, is if they can get a bunch of scoring throughout their lineup.
Yeah.
But overall, those teams, I mean, Prez, it's just nice for me to see with the change of this format in the playoffs, at least a competitive playoff race. Because as a Maple Leafs fan, I'm sure you know you're going to be playing Tampa Bay. And to me, it's just ridiculous. There's 25 games left and we still have this. So at least there's something to look forward to as far as a playoff race.
We knew we were playing Tampa Bay or Boston before the season begun. The playoff format is absolutely idiotic, but nobody is listening. You know, Buffalo's got 6 games in hand on Florida and the Islanders. They win all 6 of those. That's 12 points. They go 4-2, which is a reasonable thing. That's 8 points, and they are in the playoffs. I don't hate that Buffalo pick, but I will make my prediction. I don't believe in Florida as a really good hockey team, but I do believe they make the playoffs. I think the playoffs are currently set. The New York Islanders, 7th, and the Florida Panthers, 8th. So I am not with you on the Florida Panthers. We turn our attention to...
I was trying to make a hot take. I was trying to make some type of, prediction or what could happen, but I agree with you. I mean, unless something crazy happens, things will probably stay the exact same. And one thing that Carmine mentioned to me as well is that Buffalo has a really horrible schedule coming up against some really tough teams. So that won't really help them out that much. But can you agree with me on this, that no matter who is in the wild card this year, I don't see an upset happening? I think there's a big drop off.
I don't agree with
top
you.
6.
I don't agree with you on that. And I think that the Boston Bruins should fear playing the New York Islanders because they match up well against each other. They play a similar game. The New York Islanders have the best goalie in hockey. He could steal games along the way. They can play defense. They've shown that the last 3-4 years. They have found an offense this year. Bo Horvat continues his torrid pace. I do not agree with you. If I'm the New York Islanders, I want to play anybody. But, I mean, if I'm the Bruins, I want to play anybody but the New York Islanders. I don't think that matchup favors the Bruins as much as other matchups might. Now, that doesn't mean the Bruins are going to lose. I'm just saying that if it's plus 320, I'm taking the Islanders in that series. Let's turn our attention to the Western Conference. Minnesota and Colorado holding the final 2 spots. I got to believe Colorado's going to get there, especially with their injured players coming back shortly. The teams looking in from outside is Calgary, Nashville. Well, not really St. Louis. They're done. I mean, really, it's pretty much Calgary, Nashville, Minnesota, Colorado, and Edmonton fighting it out. The real wild card here is between Calgary and Minnesota, Andrew. I think Minnesota is not nearly as good as they've shown the last few years. And I think Calgary is just so much better on paper than how they've been playing. My prediction is it's Colorado and Calgary that get in. I think Minnesota and Nashville will not make the playoffs. Thoughts?
Yeah, Prez, I thought I had hopes for Minnesota coming into this season, but to me, they just haven't been as consistent enough. That you can't take games off. The goaltending has been, the numbers look better than that they've actually played because they've had some rock solid shutouts, but then there's games that they lose to teams they probably shouldn't lose to. Look, Colorado sitting at 67 points, potentially finishing 3rd in the Central there. To me, that's the biggest thing to talk about in the NHL for right now. Because imagine if you're a team that finishes at one of the top seeds and you have to play Colorado in the first round. But that Central division is probably the most competitive division right now in hockey. The Pacific has been okay, but Central with the Stars at 72 points, Jets at 71, and Colorado at 67 is extremely competitive. A team that I'll say I don't believe in too much is the Winnipeg Jets. I believe in
Oh,
Dallas a lot more, but
boo!
we talked about that last week. I understand, but I just think that Dallas is a lot deeper than they are. But Prez, the West to me, I asked this before, I think to you, but I'll ask again. You've been in this industry a long time. What would you make the line right now for which conference will win the Stanley Cup? Because I was talking about it with the guys. I think it was like, we said maybe like 140, 150 for the East. What do you think?
Andrew, that's a tough question, man. I mean, the East are better top to bottom, and that might actually end up being the problem. I mean, you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, for instance. If they go to the Cup, they're going through Tampa Bay, Boston, Carolina, or the Rangers. By the time they get to the Cup, the Edmonton Oilers might be sitting there with 3 weeks off. I don't know how to attack that. Steve, say goodbye to Andrew.
Andrew, 10-3 hockey run, puck time, normally 11 a.m. Eastern, bonus puck time, 12:30 Eastern today on Tuesday and Tuesday only. But Andrew, what else you got going on at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, well, the other play I was going to mention is JT Miller over 2.5 shots on goal. He's hit that 7 of his last 10 games. So anybody looking for some prop action, check it out. But yeah, Steve, as I always mention, sometimes I do talk about UFC on this show. I do have a UFC package going up this evening for this weekend's card. That will include a 5% play. So I'm looking forward to that. On a pretty good best bet run in the UFC. And yeah, 10-3 run in the NHL. The big ones have to start hitting though, man. The 4 and 5s are losing right now, and the 3s and 2s are hitting in all transparency. But that 10-3 run, all access guys, hopefully they're happy. And if you want to join me today, great day to hop on for a day pass. You can get that for $39.
Awesome. Andrew McInnis, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Guys, don't forget it's $2 Tuesdays at Wager Talk. Rob Veno, the $2 Tuesday handicapper. Steve, it's time for the daily presidential address, and then you get to close the show. All right, guys, I got 3 NHL bets for you today. Yesterday we did well. I also predicted the exact score in the Boston Bruins Ottawa Senators game. So stay with us till the end of this video. It is only a couple of minutes long. Look, I got a very big card going tonight for my clients. I have 3 college basketball plays. 2 of them are ATS bets, and I am on a 5-0 and 28-10. 28-10 run in my college basketball ATS bets. I'm also up 50 units on the entire college basketball season. So make sure to grab those 3 college basketball plays. But they come with an NHL money line bet. And guys, I am on a 10-1 run in my NHL money line bets. You get all of those plays, all 4 over at Wager Talk for $29. Please take advantage of that. I have a big night planned. Okay, man, let's get into some hockey for tonight. Right off the bat, I'd like to say I like the Minnesota Wild tonight. They're minus 126 against the LA Kings. Now, I'm not fully going bananas over the Minnesota Wild. I don't think they end up making the playoffs. But I do think they're in a good spot tonight. The LA Kings are playing outstanding hockey. They've won 4 games in a row. The Wild have won 2 in a row. I don't think this is a good spot for the LA Kings. I don't think this team is good enough to go on an extended run. I want to try jump in when I think they're going to lose, and I think it will be tonight. Take the Wild minus 126. I also like the Nashville Predators and Vancouver to go over the total of 6.5. Any team playing Vancouver could go over by themselves, and Vancouver has shown that they can score. I think we see a 5-3 hockey game. That's 8 goals. Take the over. And man, I know Edmonton is a big number at 315. Take them on the puck line. This is like one of my favorite bets of the night. Edmonton is in a perfect spot to just destroy this Philadelphia team. Predicted score of 5-2. Steve, thanks for co-hosting with me, brother. Take us home.
Yeah, we'll do it again tomorrow. Actually, Prez and Teddy will do it again tomorrow on Wednesday and every weekday, Monday through Friday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, right here on Wager Talk TV. And don't forget to download the Wager Talk TV app for your favorite mobile device. Watch us on the go all day and night. And don't forget college basketball happy hour tip-off show, also 2 o'clock Eastern today on Tuesday. More college basketball talk. Hit subscribe, hit the bell for instant alerts. I'll have a college basketball top 25 video this week. Also, more content here on Wager Talk TV. Also, leave some comments below. Prez and I read the comments and we reply back. And don't forget to check out strong best bets from each and all today on Tuesday at WagerTalk.com. Enjoy the games tonight. Best of luck. We'll talk to you again soon here on Wager Talk TV.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.